Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Stayntouch Product Enhancements, version 5.62 and version 5.63. Choose to require signature at check-in, display rate name on guest bill, and more. Presented by Stayntouch Implementation Consultant, Julia Josephson. I'm your host, Erin Fisher, the content writer here at Stayntouch. Today's presentation will cover how you can get the most out of the Stayntouch PMS version 5.62 and version 5.63 product releases. In this webinar, we will highlight enhancements to digital signature collection, illustrate the change to the select all functionality on the reservation by user and daily production by rate scheduled reports, show that seconds have been added to the activity log timestamps for guest cards, company cards, TA cards, groups, allotments, stay cards, and rates, demonstrate the new message upon CSV import for budgets if header names are not present, explain that a first night allowance add-on can be set to consume next day, show that you can create a rate with a rate name that already exists, illustrate that add-ons marked as manual posting cannot be added to rates, demonstrate how to display rate name on the guest bill and folio, explain updates to when a guest closes the Stayntouch guest kiosk check-in flow when already checked in, highlight Connect API changes, indicate that CRSs, excluding iHotelier, have the ability to send multiple company profiles with an indication of which one is a CRS profile and which one is a PMS profile. Explain that additional profile details are saved when data is sent from a CRS, demonstrate non-residential postings / payments workflow for Toast POS, discuss account view configuration page improvement, and finally indicate data sent to Revenate CRM. We will have a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation, and we will answer them in the order they're received at the end. And that's all I have right now. Julia, I'm going to switch it over to you.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, all good.
Excellent. All right, everyone. Well, thank you. I'm excited to show you these new features and how they work. We're going to start with the first enhancement, which is to digital signature collection. If we go to the main menu, settings, and then hotel and staff and hotel details, we scroll down a little, we have a section called PMS registration. This has been here, and this is where you select if you do or do not want to collect a guest signature at check-in, check-out, or not at all. Previously, even if you had selected require signature at check-in, the signature field would only appear if you also had terms and conditions configured in the stationary settings. But with this enhancement, when require signature at check-in is selected, like it is here, the guest signature field during the check-in process will always be there and appear whether or not terms and conditions are enabled for the property. This applies to check-in via the PMS, guest mobility, and kiosk. So if you see here, I've got require signature at check-in already selected, and I pulled up a reservation where I'm already in the check-in process. And if I click on the terms and conditions here, you can see there are none configured to show here. However, the signature box is still appearing, allowing me to have the guest sign on the screen and then move forward with the check-in process. The next enhancement is per your request, and we've changed the way the select all functionality works in the scheduled version of 2 reports. So I'm going to go to main menu, reports, schedule a report or export. And the two reports that we've changed are the reservations by user report and the daily production by rate. For both of these reports, if we look at one where I've got one scheduled, previously the select all options, for example, select all rate type, that would, it would select all of the current ones, but then if you added an additional rate type in the future, it wouldn't show those new ones unless you would come back here and added them again. However, when you've selected select all, moving forward, it will select all future ones that you build as well to make sure that the report is kept accurate. The same goes for the reservations by user report. So for example, we have all users selected for this, If I were to add a new user now, they would also get added to this list that's already selected. And that is going to be the case regardless of when the report was created. Our next enhancement applies to activity log timestamps. So I'm going to take a look at this reservation, this stay card. But as a note, this applies not only to stay cards, but also to guest cards, company cards, travel agent cards, groups, allotments, and rates. So in the stay card or in any of those other places, if I find the activity log and show details, we can see the timestamps for each action. And there was already a timestamp here. It previously showed the date, the hour, the minute, and then AM or PM, but we've now added a seconds field. So now it will show as the date in your hotel's preferred format, hours, minutes, seconds, and then AM or PM. Our next item is related to budgets, which I navigate to by going to the main menu, financials, and budgets. This is relating to importing a budget. So if I try to import a CSV file that doesn't have headers, I now will get an error message basically saying the budget was not correctly uploaded. So if I click import CSV, I created a test one that doesn't have headers. If I go to import that, I get this alert that says budget not uploaded. And as a user, that would indicate to me that something was wrong with my file, like I didn't have headers. And that I need to update or change the file to make it, in the format the system needs it to be, and then try to upload it again. We're going to move on to some other enhancements related to add-ons and rates. So I'm going to go back into the settings, rates, and we're going to start with add-ons. The first one is related to an allowance add-on, which is part of the allowance functionality that we rolled out earlier this year. Now, when you create an allowance add-on with the post type first night, you can now also set it to consume next day. Previously, that wasn't an option. I went ahead and created an example to show you. I created this breakfast allowance first morning, and you can see that I've set the post type to first night, and I've also selected consume next day. Again, that previously wasn't an option. A note on how this works when it's added to the reservation. When end of day is run, if the allowance add-on is set to add to price, meaning that it's set to the rate code to add to price, or it's added to the reservation manually, the price will be posted to the guest bill and the value of the allowance add-on will be loaded on the allowances tab. If the reservation is longer than one night, subsequent allowances will not load as the allowance add-on is set to first night only, versus if this was set to nightly, that would be a nightly recurring or sort of, next morning recurring breakfast since we're set to consume next day. Our next enhancement is related to rates. So I'm going to go back out to rates. Previously, when you were creating a rate code, the name had to be unique. And now you can create a rate with the rate name that already exists, as long as the rate code is unique. As an example, I've got this advanced pay corporate rate here with this ADV pay corp rate code. Let's say I have this one existing and I'm using it and it's great, but I want to offer these same guests an additional discount if they stay for a longer stay period. But I want it to be named the same thing. So in that case, I would hit the add new. And under rate details, I call the rate the same thing. Again, the rate code needs to be unique. So this was the rate code for the original one. Maybe I add this for extended and say extended stay discount. And I build my charge code build my rate code as per normal. Maybe I want to give them an extra 20% off of this advanced pay corporate rate. And maybe it's if they stay a minimum of 4 nights. Then I go to select room types and save. And now you can see I've got 2 rate codes with the same name. They just have different rate codes. Again, that wasn't an option before. Previously, we would have had to make the name different. Next, we're heading back to add-ons. With this update, now add-ons that are marked as manual posting only can no longer be added to a rate. I have an example here for baby crib. This one, if we look at the details here, is not set to reservation only, meaning that I generally would have the ability to add it to a rate code and build a package rate with it. However, I have turned on manual posting only here. And if I go to add it to a rate code, under rate details and then add-ons, we can see that the baby crib isn't listed anywhere here, and that's because it is set to manual posting only. Another thing to note here is that if an existing add-on has already been attached to a rate and you try to change it to manual posting only, you'll receive an error at the top of the screen. So for an example, I've got pet package. This is an add-on that I already have attached to a rate code. And if I try to select manual posting only and I hit save changes, I get an error code at the top here that says add-on is in use on rates. So I would have to, turn it off from rate codes if I wanted to make this change. This is only applicable for add-ons made or updated from the release date of this feature onwards. So add-ons that were previously marked as manual posting only and that were previously linked to a rate before this change was implemented will still remain attached to the rate and will appear on any reservations that have purchased that rate. So again, this only applies to add-ons made or updated from the release date onwards. And as a reminder, manual posting add-ons do not post an amount to the guest folio during the end of day process. Our next enhancement is back in rates. And it's actually I'm actually pretty excited about this feature. I'm going to pull up my flexible rate. So the new thing here under rate details is that we now have this toggle that was never here before called display rate name on bill and folio. And I've toggled it on here. And by toggling this on, this allows you to basically replace the room charge description on the guest folio with the rate name. And as an example, I can show you on a reservation that I had checked in last night with this rate code. You can see they booked the flexible rate. And if I go to the bill and charges screen, where it normally would say room charge, it now says flexible rate. I'm particularly excited about this feature for corporate negotiated rates, for packages, to just help remind your guests that they have either gotten a deal for some reason or that they had booked a package that included different things. And our next enhancement to review is related to guest kiosk. It's specifically related to key creation, and since I don't have a key encoder at home with me, I'm going to show you a screenshot of what this looks like. The concept is if the guest is going through the check-in process on the kiosk and tries to close the process after check-in, but before they've created their key, they will receive a message stating you are checked in and your room number is blank. Our next few enhancements are related to integrations, and again, there's not very much for me to show you, but I will describe them. We've made the following Connect API changes. We've added membership information to the Get Guests and Get Guests ID calls. That response includes membership number, type, and level if applicable. We've also added a new call that allows vendors to delete length of stay, advanced booking, and stay through restriction types in rate, house, and room level. And lastly, for post-record CC payment, the logic has been enhanced to store the transaction ID in the database, even if no token is provided on the post call. The next enhancement is related to all CRS integrations except iHotelier. We now have the ability to receive multiple company profiles in the inbound message to stay in touch and use the correct one. Additionally, when the CRS sends additional profile details, we're able to save those. So the new logic for company profiles helps ensure that the PMS is always using the correct company profile when a reservation is created via the CRS. And central reservation systems send profile details for guests in two different sections in the inbound message. Previously, Stayntouch PMS only read the primary section, but we have now implemented new logic to include additional details if they exist in the non-primary section. For example, if the primary section only has the guest name and the secondary section has the guest name, email address, and phone number, Stayntouch PMS will take the data from the secondary section. Our next integration to talk about is Toast. The Toast POS integration, if I go to Integrations, POS integrations, and Toast, this now supports non-residential postings so that revenue gets posted before the business date is rolled during the night audit. The import is done as part of the night audit before the date change happens. And the transfer of non-residential charges can be activated by enabling this toggle here. And the account number needs to be defined where the charges will be posted. So that would be like, a regular house account that you'd create. For the account view back office integration, I don't have this activated here to show you, but the mappings page, we've improved the sort order functionality to make that easier for you. And our last and final enhancement to integrations is that we've added to the data that is sent to Revinate CRM in outbound messages from Stayntouch. The new data that's been added to these messages that were already being sent are profile VIP status, profile date of birth, profile gender, profile subscription status, which is the opt-in box on the guest profile for promotions and newsletter emails, the reservation room charge code, and the original room type that was booked by the guest, and the reservation deposit paid. And that should help anybody sending transactional emails help add more data to your Revinate emails. And that's all. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope this was helpful, and I'll hand it back to Erin for Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julia. I'd now like to turn over the floor for questions. Remember, you can submit questions through the question box in the middle of the control panel. So let me take a look and see if we have any questions. Not seeing any questions yet, but I'll give everyone a few more seconds. All right, since there are no questions, I'd like to take to the floor to offer some final thoughts. So today we highlighted enhancements to digital signature collection, illustrated the change to the select all functionality on the reservation by user and daily production by rate scheduled reports, showed that seconds have been added to the activity log timestamps for guest cards, company cards, TA cards, groups, allotments, stay cards, and rates, demonstrated the new message upon CSV import for budgets if header names are not present, explained that a first night allowance add-on can be set to consume next day, showed that you can create a rate with a rate name that already exists, illustrated that add-ons marked as manual posting only cannot be added to rates, demonstrated how to display rate name on the guest bill and folio, explained updates to when a guest closes the Stayntouch guest kiosk check-in flow when already checked in, highlighted Connect API changes, indicated that CRSs, excluding iHotelier, have the ability to send multiple company profiles with an indication of which one is a CRS profile and which one is a PMS profile. Explained that additional profile details are saved when data is sent from a CRS. Demonstrated non-residential postings and payments workflow for Toast POS. Discussed the account view configuration page improvement, and indicated data sent to the Revinate CRM. With that, I'd like to conclude our presentation. Thank you all for coming, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to email me at erin.fisher@stayntouch.com. Thanks again.